The self-opening doors of the gym. In a quiet, unassuming part of town stood an old gym, a relic of sweat, iron, and whispered legends. By day, it was a sanctuary for those seeking physical strength and escape. But when night fell and the last echoes of clanging weights faded, an unsettling mystery stirred. The gym's main entrance, a set of heavy glass doors that should have remained locked after hours, would inexplicably slide open on its own. No key, no remote, no human hand, only an unspoken summons from the shadows beyond. Chapter 1: Midnight Whispers. Adrian had taken the night security job at the gym on a dare, a challenge to confront his own skepticism about urban legends. At first, his shifts were uneventful: dim corridors, the persistent hum of fluorescent lights, and the echo of his own footsteps. Yet, as the clock neared midnight, a chill would seep into the air. One fateful night, while patrolling the silent hallways, Adrian's attention was drawn to the front doors. Slowly, deliberately, they began to slide open, as if inviting him into a realm where time and reason had lost their meaning. Heart-pounding, Adrian stepped toward the open doors. Beyond lay a vast space bathed in an eerie, silver light. The gym, stripped of its daytime vigor, revealed corners filled with long-forgotten equipment and dusty trophies, a museum of ambitions and broken dreams. And somewhere in that stillness, he could almost hear the distant murmur of voices, barely perceptible, as if the past were trying to speak. Chapter 2: Echoes of the Past. Determined to uncover the truth, Adrian began to explore. In a forgotten storage room behind rows of unused lockers, he discovered old photographs and yellowed newspapers. One article, in particular, caught his eye, a tragic story from decades past. It spoke of Victor, a beloved and revered trainer whose life ended in a mysterious accident during an intense workout session. Rumors had swirled that his death was no accident at all, but a consequence of betrayal and injustice. The article hinted at an inexplicable phenomenon: since his passing, inexplicable occurrences plagued the gym. As Adrian read, the atmosphere grew heavier. A feeling of melancholy, interwoven with an undercurrent of anger, seemed to seep from the walls. It was as if Victor's spirit lingered, trapped between worlds, unable to find rest. The self-opening doors were not mere mechanical quirks, they were portals through which Victor, and perhaps others, sought to make their presence known. Chapter 3: The Door's Secret. Night after night, the phenomenon escalated. Adrian found himself drawn to the gym at odd hours, compelled by the sense that something crucial was unfolding. In one such midnight excursion, he discovered a hidden chamber behind a false wall near the cardio area. Inside, arranged meticulously on a dusty pedestal, was an antique journal. Its pages chronicled Victor's final days, the camaraderie of a once thriving community, a descent into bitter envy among colleagues, and the ultimate betrayal that cost him his life. The entries spoke of a cursed fate, a soul tormented by injustice, destined to haunt the place that had been both his sanctuary and his grave. The journal also revealed a disturbing detail: the self-opening doors were a deliberate construct of a long-forgotten architect, rumored to have dabbled in occult practices. They were designed to act as a gateway between the living and the dead, a mechanism to harness energies beyond mortal comprehension. The realization sent shivers down Adrian's spine. Every creak of the floor, every gust of cold air was a reminder that the gym was a living memory of grief and revenge. Chapter 4: Confrontation in the Shadows. One stormy night, as thunder rolled outside and rain lashed against the windows, the gym transformed into a theater of nightmares. The doors slid open wider than ever, as if defying the very laws of nature. Compelled by an inexplicable mix of dread and duty, Adrian stepped inside. The gym's interior was in disarray, weights lay scattered, mirrors were shattered, and the silence was punctuated by ghostly echoes. In the center of the chaos, a spectral figure emerged. Flickering like an old film reel, Victor materialized before him. His eyes, deep wells of sorrow and rage, locked onto Adrian. The air around them crackled with the weight of untold stories and unhealed wounds. In a voice that trembled between fury and despair, Victor recounted his tale: a life full of promise and passion, corrupted by jealousy and betrayal, ended abruptly and unjustly. His spirit had been condemned to roam, bound to the gym and its cursed doors, seeking not only vengeance but also an elusive release from eternal torment. As Victor's lament filled the room, the gym itself seemed to convulse. The self-opening doors shuddered in sync with the spectral outburst, each movement a manifestation of the tortured energy within. Adrian felt the oppressive gravity of guilt and regret, a shared human frailty that connected him to the ghost before him. In that charged moment, he understood that Victor was not an embodiment of pure evil, but a victim of a cruel twist of fate. Summoning courage from the depths of his soul, Adrian spoke softly, yet firmly. He apologized on behalf of the living for the wrongs that had been inflicted, acknowledging the pain and injustice that had tethered Victor to this world. His words, tender and sincere, seemed to resonate with the very fabric of the haunted gym. Slowly, the spectral figure's wrathful posture softened. The heavy tension in the air began to lift, replaced by a fragile hope, a possibility that redemption, even for a tortured soul, was within reach. Epilogue, Dawn's quiet promise. As the first light of dawn crept through the grimy windows, Victor's form wavered, becoming less distinct with every passing moment. The self-opening doors, once ominously autonomous, stilled to a silent vigil. The energy that had suffused the gym dissipated like mist under the morning sun. For a fleeting instant, peace reigned, a testament to the transformative power of empathy and understanding. Adrian emerged from the gym as the day broke, forever changed by the night's events. The experience left him with more questions than answers. Had he truly set Victor free, or was the cycle of unrest destined to recur whenever the clock struck midnight? The gym, with its silent, self-opening doors, remained a monument to the blurred boundaries between past and present, life and death. In the days that followed, patrons of the gym noticed a subtle difference. There was an unspoken air of calm, a gentle reassurance that the haunted legacy had been acknowledged and, perhaps, healed. Yet, on particularly quiet nights, when the world outside slumbered, a solitary door might still slide open just a fraction, a silent, mysterious reminder of a spirit who had once roamed in sorrow, and of a man who dared to confront the darkness. The legend of the self-opening doors of the gym endures, whispered among those who believe that even the most haunted places carry within them the seeds of redemption. It is a story that transcends the ordinary, a tale where the past reaches out to shape the future, and where the courage to face our deepest fears may be the only key to unlocking eternal peace. Whispers in the locker room. The night was unseasonably still as Alex stepped through the rusted iron gates of Riverton Gym, a once proud athletic facility now steeped in decay and shadow. The building's facade, marked by peeling paint and scars of time, whispered secrets of days long past. Despite a chill that had nothing to do with the crisp autumn air, Alex felt compelled to push forward. Something deep inside urged him to explore the mysteries that lingered within. It started subtly. After an intense workout, when the gym's usual clamor had faded into an almost oppressive silence, Alex lingered near the row of old lockers. In that quiet, a soft murmur brushed against his ears, a barely audible cadence that seemed to call his name. At first, he dismissed it as the trickery of an overactive mind, a stray echo in a building that had seen better days. But night after night, as he returned to this isolated space, the murmur grew in clarity and insistence, until it was unmistakable, a series of fragmented words, desperate and forlorn. He recalled the local legends, tales whispered among athletes and staff alike, of a tragedy that had once shattered the spirit of the gym. A mysterious accident, an unsolved disappearance, and the lingering sorrow of souls trapped between worlds. And now, here in the depths of the locker room, Alex felt the heavy weight of that legacy pressing upon him. Determined to uncover the truth, Alex began to piece together the history of Riverton Gym. In the dusty corners of the municipal archives, he discovered yellowed newspapers and brittle photographs that told the tale of a gifted coach, Raymond Ray Dalton, whose relentless drive for perfection had earned him both adoration and fear. Ray had once led this gym to glory, molding raw talent into champions. Yet, beneath his charismatic exterior lurked a darkness, a fixation that bordered on obsession. Rumors swirled of a fateful night when a promising athlete, overwhelmed by the relentless pressure, had suffered a fatal collapse during training. Though officially ruled a tragic accident, whispers of negligence and hidden guilt never truly faded. Alex's research led him to a forgotten diary tucked away in an abandoned locker, its leather cover cracked and worn. The diary belonged to one of Ray's protégés, a young man whose bright future was extinguished too soon. In anguished script, the diary recounted long nights filled with fear, the ceaseless echo of a coach's demands, and an inexplicable presence that haunted the facility. The final pages bled with sorrow and regret, ending abruptly as if the writer had been interrupted by a force too overwhelming to withstand. Armed with these revelations, Alex felt a growing compulsion to confront the source of the nightly whispers. One stormy evening, when the gym's corridors lay cloaked in darkness and intermittent flashes of lightning illuminated the stained walls, he made his way back to the locker room. The building groaned under the weight of the tempest, each creak and rustle of wind punctuating his racing heartbeat. In the heart of the locker room, beneath a row of tarnished lockers and flickering fluorescent lights, Alex detected a door he had never noticed before. Its wood was scarred by time, and a single keyhole glinted in the weak light. With trembling hands, he pushed it open. Inside lay a cramped, dust-choked storage room filled with relics of a bygone era, old trophies, faded team photos, and more personal mementos of Ray Dalton's tenure. In the center of the room stood a battered wooden bench, upon which rested a small, ornate box. Opening it, Alex found a collection of mementos, a frayed whistle, a tattered scarf bearing the insignia of the long-disbanded team, and most disturbingly a faded photograph of Ray Dalton with his eyes brimming with a mix of pride and torment. Underneath the photograph lay a final note scrawled in hurried handwriting, "Forgive me. I never meant for it to end this way." At that moment, the temperature plummeted. The whispers erupted into a cacophony of sorrowful voices, echoing around him like the cries of the condemned. In the periphery of his vision, a shape began to coalesce, a translucent figure in a worn coach's jacket, its eyes reflecting a profound, unyielding regret. The apparition moved soundlessly, its presence both mesmerizing and terrifying. Alex's voice faltered as the spectral coach spoke, his tone a fragile blend of authority and despair. "I have waited for someone to hear me," the ghost intoned, each word resonating as if carved from the very walls of the locker room. "I am Ray Dalton, bound by the weight of my mistakes and the pain of those I failed. The whispers you hear are the echoes of lost dreams, of lives undone by ambition." Every instinct screamed at Alex to flee, yet an inexplicable empathy rooted him to the spot. "Why are you here?" he managed, his voice trembling like the thin candle of hope he clutched within. Ray's spectral form flickered, his expression softening into one of anguish. "I became a prisoner of my own making, a relentless pursuit of victory that cost me everything. I lost sight of the human soul beneath the drive for greatness. My spirit lingers here, trapped in this cycle of remorse, unable to atone for the irreversible harm I caused. I beg for forgiveness, not just from those I wronged, but from the darkness that holds me captive." As the ghost spoke, the locker room around them seemed to shift. The peeling walls transformed into a canvas of haunting memories, images of celebrated victories intertwined with moments of overwhelming despair, and the faces of athletes whose lives had been marred by the relentless pressure of perfection. Alex saw in these visions the true cost of ambition, a price that had demanded the sacrifice of not only physical well-being but also the very essence of human hope. Overwhelmed by the intensity of the revelation, Alex understood that this was more than a mere haunting, it was a call to break the cycle. The gym, with all its faded glory and latent tragedy, was a vessel for the unresolved grief of those lost and the guilt of those who had forsaken their humanity in the name of success. The whispers were a lament for the past, a plea for absolution. In that charged moment, Alex felt an inner resolve harden within him. "Ray," he said softly, "I cannot change what happened, but maybe you can find peace if you let go." His voice, though small, carried a promise, a vow to honor the memories of those caught in the relentless pursuit of achievement, and to allow the ghosts of the past a chance at redemption. The spectral figure's eyes shimmered with an almost imperceptible glimmer of relief. "Then help me, Alex. Listen to the echoes, remember the pain, and ensure that the legacy we leave behind is one of compassion rather than relentless ambition. Only then can I be free." As the storm raged outside, Alex sat on the cold, tiled floor of the locker room, absorbing every whispered confession that filled the air. The voices, now more distinct, recounted untold stories of sacrifice and regret, of moments when the human spirit had been sacrificed at the altar of glory. With each whispered secret, Alex felt the burden of a legacy that transcended time, a call to honor the souls who had been lost to the relentless pursuit of perfection. In the days that followed, Alex's life was irreversibly altered. The Riverton Gym became a place of pilgrimage for him, not as a venue for physical achievement, but as a sacred ground where the echoes of the past could finally be heard and acknowledged. He began to record the stories of former athletes, coaches, and staff, collecting fragments of history that revealed both triumph and tragedy. With every interview and every recollection, the voices of the past grew a little less desperate, their sorrow slowly replaced by a tentative hope. At night, the locker room no longer resounded with chaotic, anguished whispers but instead carried a softer, more measured cadence, almost as if the building itself was beginning to heal. Ray Dalton's spectral presence was seen less frequently, his form gradually dissipating as the weight of his guilt was lifted by the compassion of a stranger who had chosen to listen. Yet, the transformation was not without cost. Alex began to experience visions, fleeting images of a past that was not entirely his own. In quiet moments, he found himself standing in front of the old lockers, feeling an inexplicable connection to the lost souls who had once walked these halls. Their voices, now more subdued, served as a reminder that history is etched not only in bricks and mortar but in the hearts of those who remember. One crisp autumn morning, as the first light of dawn filtered through the broken windows of the now quiet locker room, Alex discovered a final note taped to one of the lockers. In faded handwriting, it read, "In forgiving the past, we pave the way for a future unburdened by regret." It was as if Ray's spirit had, at last, found a measure of peace. Alex knew then that the journey was far from over. The legacy of Riverton Gym, with its intertwined tales of ambition and sorrow, would live on in every whispered memory and every earnest attempt to honor the human spirit. And though the spectral coach was no longer bound to this place, the echoes of his remorse and the lessons learned in that lonely locker room would forever serve as a solemn reminder that behind every triumphant roar of victory lies a story of sacrifice, and sometimes, the only way to move forward is to listen, to truly listen, to the whispers of the past. The man who disappeared during midnight workout. On a night when the city's neon veins pulsed with a tired glow and the moon was hidden behind a shroud of restless clouds, there was a man whose routine defied the boundaries of normalcy. Every night, while the world slumbered, Victor Reyes, known by a few as the Midnight Warrior, slipped away into the obscurity of an abandoned gym on the edge of town. It was here, amid rusted weights and creaking exercise machines, that his solitary quest for strength and solace unfolded. Victor had long abandoned the confines of conventional hours. For him, the midnight workout was a rebellion against the mundane, a moment when the ordinary blurred into something raw, something real. The gym he frequented was no ordinary place. Once a thriving center of athletic ambition, it had been shuttered years ago, its halls echoing with memories of sweat and determination. Now, its flickering fluorescent lights and worn-out mirrors bore witness to a secret ritual that only the brave, or the desperate, dared to perform. That night, as he stepped through the heavy, creaking door, the stale air of disuse was punctuated by an inexplicable energy. The silence was not empty but heavy with anticipation, as if the building itself were waiting for something extraordinary to occur. Victor's footsteps echoed on the cracked tiles, and with every measured pace, his heartbeat synchronized with the rhythm of the falling night. Victor's workout was as methodical as it was intense. He began with stretches beneath the dim glow of a solitary bulb, his muscles awakening to the promise of exertion. The old gym, with its lingering scent of sweat and rust, seemed to murmur softly, almost as if it remembered days of fervor and struggle. He moved from one machine to another, each rep and set a testament to his determination. But as the minutes passed, an unsettling sensation began to gnaw at him, a subtle awareness that he was not entirely alone. It started with a whisper, so faint that Victor thought it was merely the echo of his own exertions. Then came a series of soft, rhythmic creaks, a sound not produced by any machine he recognized. As he gripped a pair of dumbbells, his eyes caught a flicker in the reflective surface of a dusty mirror. For a split second, he saw a shadow that didn't belong to him, a silhouette that moved with a silent, deliberate grace. His heart thumped, a warning drumbeat in the cavernous space, but he pressed on. Perhaps it was merely a trick of light or a remnant of the building's storied past. The deeper Victor delved into his workout, the thicker the air seemed to grow. Every drop of sweat and every labored breath resonated with an underlying tension. The building itself appeared to transform. The walls, once familiar, now bore strange, shifting patterns that seemed to writhe under the stale light. Shadows lengthened, and the subtle murmurs coalesced into indistinct voices that ebbed and flowed, like echoes from another time. On the treadmill, as he increased his speed, the hum of the machine mingled with an almost imperceptible bass, a deep, resonating pulse that vibrated beneath the floor. It was as if the gym had become a threshold, a liminal space between the known and the unknowable. And then, in a moment that defied reason, the lights began to flicker erratically. The rhythmic stuttering of electricity cast the room into brief, stark contrasts of darkness and pallid illumination. In one such strobe-like flash, Victor glimpsed them, figures at the periphery of his vision, dark and indistinct, moving with an eerie precision. His breath caught. The familiar comfort of his routine was dissolving into a scene from a nightmare. With a mounting sense of dread, he tried to steady himself, to rationalize the bizarre occurrences. But deep in his core, a primal fear took hold, a fear that something was drawing near, something that had long lain dormant in the forgotten corners of this forsaken place. In the midst of an especially grueling set, as Victor strained against the weight of his own ambition, the building's atmosphere reached a fevered pitch. The hum of machinery, the pulsating bass, and the murmur of ghostly voices converged into a cacophony that seemed to bend time. Every muscle in his body trembled, not from exertion alone but from the oppressive force that was building around him. Then, in a moment both sudden and inevitable, the world tilted. The machinery groaned as if protesting an unseen command, and a violent shudder ran through the floor beneath him. Victor's vision blurred, the edges of reality frayed like tattered fabric. He felt an irresistible pull, a cold, insistent tug that seemed to wrench him away from the physical plane. The gym, with all its ghosts and memories, was collapsing into a vortex of darkness. In that instant, as if caught in a rip current of shadow and despair, Victor vanished. One moment he was there, gripping the cold metal of a dumbbell, and the next, he was gone, swallowed by the void that had materialized around him. The machines fell silent, the lights died, and an all-consuming darkness replaced the familiar hum of life. When the first rays of dawn pierced the sky, the abandoned gym stood in mute testimony to the night's unfathomable events. Workers arriving to secure the premises found everything untouched except for one haunting anomaly. The equipment bore signs of a struggle, and a single, solitary water bottle lay on the floor, its contents spilled as if in frantic haste. There was no trace of Victor Reyes. In the days that followed, the disappearance of the Midnight Warrior became the subject of hushed whispers and fevered speculation. Locals spoke of cursed nights and haunted gyms. Paranormal enthusiasts debated the existence of entities that lurked in liminal spaces. For some, Victor's fate was a grim reminder of the dangers of delving too deeply into the unknown. For others, it was the genesis of an urban legend, an eternal cautionary tale that resonated with the primal fears of isolation and the supernatural. Years later, when the story of the vanished man was recounted in dimly lit bars and around crackling campfires, there were those who swore they had seen a figure, a lone silhouette engaged in an endless workout. In the dead of night, when the world had quieted to a whisper, a spectral form could be glimpsed through the broken windows of the old gym. Clad in athletic wear, with eyes that glowed faintly like embers of a forgotten fire, the apparition seemed doomed to repeat his final moments, forever caught in the throes of his mysterious fate. Some nights, brave souls who dared to approach the gym reported hearing the steady thump of a heartbeat mingled with the soft clatter of weights, as if the building itself remembered the man who had once filled it with life. Others claimed to feel a chill that ran deeper than the winter's frost, a lingering presence that whispered warnings to those who would dare disturb the restless silence. The tale of Victor Reyes, the man who disappeared during his midnight workout, remains an enigma, a spectral narrative woven into the fabric of urban legend. His story serves as a haunting invitation to all who are drawn to the mysteries of the night. It reminds us that behind every routine, every familiar path, there may lie hidden depths where reality and nightmare converge, and that sometimes, the quest for strength or solace can lead us to places from which there is no return. So, if you ever find yourself on a moonless night, when the world is draped in shadows and the silence feels alive with unspoken secrets, listen closely. Perhaps you might hear the echo of a weight dropping, the distant hum of an otherworldly pulse, a reminder that somewhere, in the interstice between light and dark, Victor Reyes still endures, forever running on an endless treadmill in the realm of the unknown.